Subscribe now and press the bell icon. Never miss an update.
Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Sharing the Scoop. And today I have with me is Nishant Sawant. So, hi Nishant, how are you?
Hi, I'm fine.
Okay, so Nishant, can you please introduce yourself for our audience?
Hi, I'm Nishant. I'm currently working at Epsilon Agency. We recently got acquired by the Publici Group, and right now, what I'm working on, my role is sort of like a marketing analyst combined with a strategist. So, what I'm working with right now is there's a CRM agency called Hawkeye in the US. So, I'm a part of their team. I work on their clients. So, this is after the acquisition. There were some changes. So, overall, the role is still around marketing analytics, but it has more of a focus on CRM since the acquisition.
Okay, and from which college did you do your MBA, Nishant?
So I completed my PGDMC course from MICA. I was a part of the batch of 2018. Like I joined this company from their placements, and I'm still in the same company
Okay. And why exactly MICA, Nishant? Can you share some, ideas behind that?
only. Yeah. So I worked in an agency after my graduation. So I graduated from LMIMS in 2014, and that was like I graduated with a specialization in finance. But like towards the end of my year, I realized I was not really interested in making career in finance itself. So I joined an e-commerce company after that. I worked in the marketing department for a bit, and I joined an agency for a few months after that. And some of my friends from my graduation batch, they had already moved on to their MBA like right after college. So I reached out to them to understand, what exactly were my options if I wanted to continue with marketing, and especially if I wanted to continue with an like agency sort of setup with like both the culture of an agency and the type of exposure you get to different brands. So one of my friends was completing his course at MICA that year, and I talked to him a lot. I also talked to people at CPLC because I was a part of Mahesh tutorials before that. So I reached out to a lot of people in my network and eventually finalized on a bunch of colleges. So NMIMS was like a default choice because I had done my graduation from there. But like MICA was at that point the thing that made more sense to me because the entire course is focused on marketing, and a lot of their alum network also is like spread out across agencies. So that was really important for me because like just having one contact who was my friend from my graduation, and then he had access to this entire network in agencies and e-commerce, marketing, etc. So I just got exposure to that network even before I chose MICA as the prime option for me for my MBA. And that was a very good experience to at least know that there are so many people out there I can reach out, and they were very helpful. A lot of MICANs actually helped me with my prep for the MICAT as well as the GEPA. A lot of my mock interviews and everything, they were taken by current MICANs or even people from batches 7 years ago, 10 years ago. So this entire network I was exposed to that actually helped me choose MICA, and a lot of the experiences throughout the prep also.
Okay. Now, as a lot of people know that MICA is a very niche college actually, which offers something like that apart from
Yeah.
marketing, of course. But people are really not aware that how the process works there for the selection criteria, because after you give CAT as the eligibility criteria, you have to write MyCAT also. So how did you
Yeah.
prepare for MyCAT basically? And can you share some more insights about MyCAT as an exam, and what type of questions and all of that? And then we'll move on to the second part
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah. So like it doesn't really require any special prep other than what you do for the CAT itself. So if you've covered your quant, verbal, and everything in CAT, you don't really need anything else specifically for those sections in the MyCAT. Because they're like, I think in terms of difficulty is definitely lower than that of CAT. Like the quant was pretty easy in the MyCAT, and there are also 2 attempts. So like in the first one, wherever you feel you scored less, you can at least focus on that and then give the second exam. And there's a special section which is about some sort of creative writing. So the actual questions for that change, but again, it's like you don't really need a lot of special prep for that. If you're good at like the verbal part in CAT, and you just like whatever prep you did for that, like you read through things, you're up to date with current events, you're just like good at what is going on culturally, you have those kind of like little tidbits of information with you, I think you can just attempt it pretty well. And overall, like what stood out for me in the entire process was their GEPI process. So that was very different from what I went through for the other colleges. The other colleges, usually it's the same sort of GD. They give a topic and it's like 10, 12 people. And it's really like a point-based system. It doesn't matter how much you know about a topic. It's mostly like how you enter, how you exit, and what kind of points you make when you make them. So the MICAT process felt less competitive. It was more of a cooperative thing, and it was balanced for the fact that not everyone knows a lot about every single topic. So it allowed you to showcase what you knew about whatever you can have any area of expertise, and you can somehow apply that in the task they give you. So for us, it was actually we had to make a skit, and it had nothing to do with current events or just knowing any sort of policies or news or anything. It was literally just showcasing your personality in the task and how well you cooperate with other people. And even the interview process, actually, I bonded with a lot of people over the process because everyone was really passionate about things they did. And in my panel specifically, so I have some background in graphic designing and art. So I noticed that a lot of people in my panel, so everyone was being interviewed by the same panel. It was like 7 or 8 people. So everyone had some sort of creative background. There was one guy who was a published author. He was like 22 years old and he already had a book out. So it was great actually meeting those people. And that is something I didn't really notice in any of the other colleges, where mostly you have people from the same backgrounds. You have engineers, you have people who have done BPA, BMS, stuff like that. So this was something new. Like people were there because they were really passionate about something or they were really good at something, and that sort of came out in those tasks. It wasn't really about like putting some points which you prepared for in the last 2 months and then they're not just useful to you anymore after that entire process is done.
Okay. And can you tell us a little more about the whole psychometric, because you have been through the college now already and gone through the process. That it's usually that it's nothing called as right or a wrong answer. They just judge you based on what responses you have given in the whole psychometric test.
No, so that is pretty much correct. There are no correct answers. It's an agree disagree kind of thing. You get multiple statements, and you just agree with the ones like you personally do. And again, this is going back to what I talked about in the GPA process and even the MICAT. It has nothing to do with like facts or news or how much you know about things. It's literally what are your opinions about certain values, certain beliefs you have. So I really don't know what exactly they look for every year in the process, but they certainly like I found, because I met all these people who passed the MICAT, and I found them to be much similar to me compared to all of the other process we had. So I think whatever they're doing somewhere, they have a plan in mind, and you just need to like be honest when you're giving the psychometric. Because one of my friends, he didn't clear the psychometric in the first MICAT, and that is, I think he was just trying to be too calculative, which is like, according to him, he tried to give the answer which he thought was correct, and that didn't work out. But the second one he passed, and there's nothing really that can change between those two micas in terms of your personality. So the second one, he was more honest with stuff he agreed with, and he got through. And like we still don't know how they exactly score people based on the responses, but it is something they have some sort of plan in mind.
Correct. Some sort of system must be there. Anyway, and so this is the exam part and interviews and all. Great, very different than the normal college process. How was the 2 years experience in the college? Where did you intern basically, and all of those memories basically?
So to start with the internship, I got placed in People Interactive, which is the company behind Shadi.com and all of the related Shadi products. Like they have Family Shadi, VIP Shadi, stuff like that. So I wasn't really excited about the internship because it was not a brand which I really believed in. But it was very valuable because I got to be a part of the brand team, and they have a very small brand team. It was like 7, 8 people at that time, and there were 2 or 3 Micans already there. So like from the very first day, we got like a very honest opinion from them about what we were going to learn and what was outside the scope and what should be our expectations. So again, this goes back to the part about the network. Because you have a lot of senior Micans in a lot of marketing departments, you sort of get an inside look before you even join. And even after you join, you do have like a sort of support network where if you don't understand something or you need some help with something, you always have someone to reach out to. So it was me and another batchmate of mine who joined Shadi.com, and he had a lot more marketing experience than me. He was like 3 years in an e-commerce website, so he knew a lot more things. But he had also come to MICA to at least either change his specialization or to just gain some more knowledge about the different aspects of marketing. Like media is a separate aspect which people want to specialize in. So we both of us were very open to learning whatever our seniors over there told us. Like these are the areas you're going to get exposure to, and I chose to focus on the marketing analytics part because Shadi.com is a huge service and they have a lot of first party data. So I actually wanted to get into this field, and this provided me with a lot of exposure. And he wanted to eventually get into the media side. So he got exposure to all of the TV ads, all of the social media ads, digital ads, all of the conversion processes. So both of us actually got what we expected from the internship. And even later, both of us were pretty happy with the 2 months we spent there. And going forward, he also got a PPI. I chose to join an agency because that is like the culture I was looking for. But yeah, after our final placements, also both of us are still in the same companies because of the experience we had through the college and with other Micans in these companies.
Super.
And then, yeah, moving forward to my experience in the college itself. So a few things which really stood out to me as soon as I joined was the diversity. And that is in terms of everything, like gender diversity, people from different academic backgrounds, people from different economic backgrounds, people from different cultural backgrounds. And that is very important because you get exposed to, like in other colleges, I think mostly it skews heavily towards engineers. And that is happening at MICA also, there are 40-50% engineers in the recent years. And that is the distribution of people who are applying for MBA. But the rest of the other 50% is where you have people with stuff like political science, people coming from economics backgrounds, people who have studied dentistry and then they decided to switch their field. And there are also people on the campus who are pursuing fellowship in certain specializations like communications for political campaigns. So these are areas which I was never exposed to like before I joined MICA. And even if you don't end up joining any of those fields, it's kind of good to know that these fields are options because you might be really good at certain things which are required by a certain field, but you might not be aware of that field entirely. Like I talked to a couple of people who were pursuing their fellowship, and I was exposed to this entire like communication theory for specifically politicians. And this guy was writing a thesis on how like the rhetoric changes from country to country and based on the government systems. And I realized like that is also a certain application I can get into maybe 10 years down the line when I have a certain level of experience in this field. But yeah, that is something I would have never been exposed to if not for MICA. So that kind of diversity in your peers as well as the professors, because the professors kind of, a lot of them do have marketing background, but it's also different fields. Like one of the professors, he had a background in social research, like research for social causes. So he had worked for campaigns for WHO. There was the polio campaign, which is very famous now. So he was a part of the campaign when it started out, and the issues he faced, the challenges he faced. He worked in very rural areas. So that kind of exposure is really important if you're going to get into any sort of company, because eventually these are the kind of things that pop up. Because like if a company wants to expand into rural areas, it's good that you had exposure to someone who actually did those things maybe 20 years ago when technology wasn't at the level it is at. So he probably didn't have all of the conveniences we do, but he still got through with a plan and he made property and everything. And having that knowledge, I think, is your job, no matter which field you're placed in or which role you're placed in.
Correct, correct. Very true. I think only MICA and colleges like MICA can do that. Now, before we wind up, there are a couple of more things. One was that I personally know for a fact that you got 100 percentile in CAT verbal. And what was your reaction, and how did you do that? Because I think 2015 was the first year when the exam pattern changed, for CAT, and that is still the pattern of 3 different sections: quant, verbal, and LRDR.
Yeah.
How did you prepare? Because it was a first year, and in the first year itself, getting 100 percentile in verbal is huge.
So my first reaction was basically like, is this a mistake? Like, did they print the wrong number or something? Because like 100% technically doesn't make sense. It should be 99.9999 whatever. But yeah, then I called up CPLC and I asked him like, hi, this is what is shown on my scorecard. Is this correct? And then when it turned out it was correct, I looked at my score and everything. And overall, I think going back to what I did during the CAT itself. So before that, a lot of the prep really helped me, because like just solving something through the textbook wasn't really enough according to me. Just being comfortable with that environment of the mock CAT, the proctored CAT basically. So once you're really comfortable with that, it really helps you like stay very calm when you're giving the exam. And the section thing. So before this, we were told that you can skip questions and you can jump sections and everything. But actually giving so many mock CATs, it made me get comfortable with what was easy for me. And I was pretty strong at verbal even during the mock CAT. So I was like, okay, I'll attempt most questions. This is the section where I can afford to take risks. And the other sections are where I'm going to need more time. But that wasn't really option. That wasn't really an option because it was like time locked also. So mostly it was just my level of comfort with giving the CAT. So on the day of the CAT, I wasn't really very nervous. I was very comfortable. I knew that I could take a risk in the verbal section. And I didn't really attempt all of the questions initially. I was very doubtful about like 3 or 4 questions. But like when I was about to submit that section, I went back and I'm like, okay, if I don't take a risk here and I lose out on marks in the other sections, I'm like not going to recover them. This is the only chance I have to like build a buffer. And overall, I'm glad I did that because I did not score that well. But I think my overall percentile got dragged up because I took the risk of solving everything in the verbal section.
Correct. Very true. Very true. Okay. Any 3 great insights about the college MICAT, which only a student knows and nobody else outside knows?
So the first one would again be the diversity you experience. Mostly that is like you get to know people over the 2 years. You have your seniors, you have your juniors, you have people you meet during your internships. The thing is, no matter how niche your requirement is, like you might have a very different background to other people. You might be looking for a career switch. You already have experience. You might be a fresher who doesn't have any idea what he wants to do with his career. But like no matter what your situation is, you're going to find someone who is probably in the same situation as you. And within some of your senior batches, you're definitely going to meet someone who went through the same things you did. So it's kind of good that kind of safety net is there for you, because for me, the biggest support was my batchmate who graduated. So the year he graduated is the year I joined MICA. And like it was great to have that sort of like parallel view that I was in MICA. There were people from my batch who later wanted to join MICA. And I also had access to this person who had already graduated MICA. So it was great just having that background and that exposure to different kinds of people, but everyone's in the same field and they have like the same sort of aspirations, the same sort of passions. So that is the first one. The second one is, yeah, the committee structure in MICA. So there are lots of committees for many like different reasons, different purposes, they have different roles. But most of the committees which are external facing, which kind of deal with external stakeholders, whether they be advertisers, publishers, like stakeholders in terms of funding, other colleges. So those committees really give you a lot of, those committees are given a lot of autonomy, and you also get a lot of authority when it comes to making certain decisions. Like their Facebook page and the entire admission process actually, that is operated by a certain committee which is called Team Interface. So a lot of people who are applying for the MICAT, they'll be part of the official group, and the people who are responding to their queries, they are actually first year or second year students. And it's not just that. Like when you go inside, you get a lot of exposure to MICA's branding, which is really important because you are learning about branding, you're learning about strategy in the classes. And then, like, right when you're done with your classes, you go to your committee meetings, and those are places where you can experiment, where you can apply what you learned. And there's a lot of freedom in the other committees also if you don't want to be restricted by MICA's branding. They have their annual festival, they have a TEDx committee. I was a part of the alumni committee, and we were responsible for the entire branding, the entire plan, the structure which the alumni committee would follow. And it's good to see that every batch is not obsessed with like kind of sticking to the status quo. They want to do something new, and the college gives them that freedom. Like you entirely revamp what the committee's communication should be. You're allowed to do that. Studying communication, you should have a place to experiment. And one thing unique is they had their own radio station. So people who wanted to get into media, they actually got like your business. What are the differences? Even though like medium advertising and communication overall, it was like a small slice of reality that they got while in college itself. So the committees were the second great thing. Third one was, I would say, the overall transparency between the placement committee and the overall placement process and the students and even like the rest of the faculty. So when I was in NMIMS and even when I was doing my internship, I interacted with people from IMT, Ghaziabad, a couple of the IIMs, and they had some sort of issues with that. And again, there might be rumors or there might be these people's perceptions, but no one was like 100% happy with their placement committee. And my batchmate who worked with me at Shadi.com, he was actually a part of our placement committee. And he also like gathered a lot of information from all of these other colleges, like what exactly are they doing. And what I realized through that exchange and the way my friend had behaved during his time as a person from the placement committee was like there was a very high level of transparency. And people might not really agree with the policies overall, or they might be dissatisfied with the kind of companies the college is bringing in. But I don't think the people are unhappy with the level of transparency there is, because there are no hidden sort of opts out. Everyone who applies for the placement process gets a placement. And we have had people wait for a long time. They wanted to get into a certain company, and the placement committee is also very comfortable letting them wait because there is a guarantee that they will get placed. And the placement committee also is almost entirely student run. We have a placement coordinator who is part of the admin department, and it is his responsibility to act as the spokesperson. But mostly, like I've gone back as a recruiter also, and I was very happy with the experience because even for recruiters, there's a lot of transparency about what sort of students MICA has and what are the strengths, what are their weaknesses, what kind of roles should. So overall, like placements are always going to be stressful, but I was pretty happy the way they were handled, especially my final placements, because during my first year, like the number of agencies who were open to hiring sort of went down. because agencies don't really hire every single year. They might hire for 1 year, they'll skip the next, then they'll come back with a recruitment plan for like 10 people. So it's kind of cyclical, it's kind of erratic. You don't really know what's going to happen, whether the agency you want is going to come on campus. And like I waited for almost like a week and a half, and I did have chats with my friends from Placecom, and I never felt that I wasn't going to get placed. Like, what if I don't get placed? Do I need to apply outside? Will they force me to like opt out from the placement process? Will I have to look out for myself? I never went through any of that, and I was really happy with the placement I eventually got.
Super. So Nishant, amazing things you have told us, which a lot of people did not know, and now probably after seeing this, they would surely know more about MICA as a college, MICAT as an exam, and what kind of careers that you can look out for, and what is expected, from you in a way as well as a candidate.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for your time. Hopefully, we can do such many sessions in the future as well. And all the best for
Sure.
all your future endeavors. Thank you so much.
Thank you.